Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, because the people from different countries in the world now are watching this video. My name is Tatiana Koval, and this is podcast Happy at Work. In our podcast, we discuss very interesting and important topics which are connected with the main item, how to build a people-centered organization. And today, we have a very interesting guest, and we will discuss a topic which would be very important for the company which want to be people-oriented. Today, the meeting with Lou Anderson, and we will discuss the topic of neurodiversity. Hi, Lou.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, fine, thanks. I hope you are fine too.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm
Because
good.
we have a possibility to have a small conversation through LinkedIn before our
Yeah.
meeting, but the people who is watching us, they know this possibility before podcast, but I hope that after podcast, we will follow you on LinkedIn too, and you'll have possibility to connect your
Yeah, yeah.
on
I'm always
LinkedIn.
open to questions. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
never a wrong question, if that makes sense. So
Yeah. So
I'm always
my
open.
first question for you, could you tell a little bit about yourself? Because I think it's
Of
really interesting.
course. Yeah, yeah. So my name's Lou. I was neurodiversity or neuro or on the spectrum or whatever you want to call it, because you can call it whatever you like, is sort of followed me without me realizing, and that's not uncommon. So a lot of women don't realize that they're on any kind of spectrum. So I was 16 when I was diagnosed with dyslexia, and it was me that pushed the diagnosis. And then it wasn't until I was about 37 I got diagnosed with ADHD. So I thought, well, that's it. I must have this ADHD. And then I sort of figured all that out, and I'd done a lot of research. And then a year later, someone, one of my mentors just said, have you ever looked at autism? And I said, no, no. So I went and got tested, and that was an even bigger revelation. So yeah, so that's a bit about me as far as neuro goes. As far as everything else goes, I do a few different things. I work in sales, which a lot of people with ADHD do. And I do a bit of coaching here and there as well. So I like to keep it open and there. So I hope that sums it up. Um, yeah, any other questions? I'm happy to
Yeah,
to go for that.
that's really good. But this topic is not only professional for you, but this is also personal.
It
Uh,
is, yeah, and that's the same for anyone, I would say, that goes through it. It becomes part of your life professionally and personally. It does. So
yeah,
yeah.
when we usually discuss in our podcast, the people-centric organization, we say what now the paradigm of business is changed. Previously, we say only business, nothing personal. But now we could say business is personal. Um,
Yeah.
uh, um,
Yeah.
yeah. My first question for you is about diversity. Why these
hmm
trends become so important? I think 10, maybe 20 years ago, business start to talk about it. And each year we see what these trends stay apart. Why do you think
Yeah.
diversity is so important for companies?
Yeah, I think simply it is even 5 years ago, I would say, and definitely 10 years ago, 20 years ago, being, autistic or being dyslexic or being any sort of neuro conditions, I hate that word, but we'll call it that, were seen as a negative thing. And also they didn't think that women could have autism. They were starting to look at ADHD, but they didn't think women could have autism. So, and that's because we mask it so well. So there's a high intelligence there in order to mask it and fit in. And I think we were all trying to fit in. And I think the last few years, everything's become a more, every part of work has become more open. We're now looking to make our companies more diverse because we appreciate that diversity is actually a bonus and not a negative. So there are so many cool things about people that are on, and I say spectrum because I think that ADHD and women and autism is very similar. I think it kind of molds around. But the word I hear a lot is superheroes. because our brains think differently, our whole way of doing things, we can problem solve. And what's happened is companies have started to see these amazing qualities, especially in certain industries, and they've started to say, hey, actually this is really good for our business. And then the plus to that is people that have these conditions are now being noticed and recognized and sought after. And there's a number of companies out there that have got programs in place specifically to draw more people with ADHD and autism, particularly in, because of the problem solving and the work ethic. So I think that is it. I think it's just the mindset has changed with research and being, I think the biggest change is realizing that women can have ADHD and autism, and then going from there, it's opened a whole box. Yeah, and the thing I hear all the time is that people don't realize they have any of these things until their kids were diagnosed, because schools are a lot better at doing it now. So then their kids are diagnosed, and then they start to say, oh, wait a minute, that feels like me. And so that's why a lot of people in their 30s, late 30s, 40s are getting diagnosed now. It's their children. So yeah, there's a few things, but it all makes sense, doesn't it?
Usually people don't like to talk about their mental health, don't like to discuss their diagnosis. What do you think? What is the best way to start discuss it in the companies? Because sometimes the employees try to hidden the situation.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's important to talk about it? What is the best way to do this?
I've seen a lot of it. I've seen it done in a lot of different ways. I think employee advocates are really great. I've seen some great, people that are applying for roles. Obviously, they're looking to see what their company would be like to work for, especially if they do have autism or ADHD or dyslexia or any kind of any mental conditions. They're looking to see what others are saying, and I think advocates are massive. And also encouraging people to be more open, giving them that safe level playing field to say, hey, we're intrigued about you, please tell us more. And we see lots of these groups that go around. Companies have LGBTQ groups, and then neurodiversity groups, and all these groups. The best thing, the best ones I've seen are the companies that open these groups out to everyone. So you see it a lot in the LGBTQ, the allies, but you don't so much in the neuro. So come and join the group, come and find out more about us. And I would say it's particularly autism. If you ask someone with autism a direct question, they're going to give you a direct answer. So yeah, just ask the questions. Don't be scared to ask the questions, I think is there. It's a safe playing field for everyone, and feeling safe to do that, and then just ask.
What do you think would be important to tell the people in the companies if employer decided to realize the program for attracting people with neuro program of neurodiversity? Because I think not all the people have a lot of information about autism, for example, about dyslexia. So we don't know what is it, how to work with people who has this diagnosis. What is your opinion? What is the best way to get your employee information? What is the best way to tell them about it for preparing it for this program?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, find out if there's anyone in the company that is neurodiverse but hasn't said it. And then you've got your advocates, and you can start to use these guys as, if they're willing to be that voice. And then that's where you start, isn't it? Then you can start to create maybe groups and events and things. But if there's there's nowhere to start and you're right at the bottom, there are plenty of people out there that are willing to help. There's plenty of consultants that are willing to help, charities that are willing to help. I think if you ask for advice and help, you would definitely get it, a lot more than ever. There's a number of charities as well that would help. So I think research and getting your facts right, you know, doing a bit of learning about what exactly neurodiversity is, and then looking at how it might be a positive for the company, you know, and then you can start to look at, you know, where you go from there. So I would say research is key, and look at what you've got. Like I guarantee there's someone that's neurodiverse in most companies, so you just don't know it.
Mhm. Uh, I know one very interesting project. The company launched a program for the people with autism. It took a lot of time for preparing company, for preparing
Yeah,
employees, and also for preparing company because it was the people who could not work in noise, who need
yeah,
more breaks, and so on. So this is a different type of organizing organizing work. What
yeah.
is your advice? How companies should be prepared for this? Maybe we need a special room for the rest, for the people with any
Yeah,
problems, and help them to take a relax during the day. Maybe some rules for time management, because we know what in some organizations have one meeting to another meeting without any breaks, and it could be very
overwhelming.
difficult.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
is your advice? Which topics a company should pay attention?
I think so many of us are working remotely now, so I think giving that an option, because then your working environment is very comfortable and regulated. We do love structure, but you are right, meetings back to back do cause an issue. What I would suggest to anyone, as far as that goes in particular, is look at doing 25-minute meetings or look at doing meetings just off the hour. So if you do a 5 past, 10 past meeting, you are going to naturally start to get breaks. And I think that that's important for anyone, whether you're, you know, neurodiverse or anything. We burn out, we're not paying attention, we need to stretch and take a walk around. And as far as working in the offices, you know, sometimes we do need to either come in the office once a week or full time in the office. Most offices I've worked in have got meeting areas, they've got, you know, cubicles, and I think implementing, you know, a meeting room, if you've got more than one, that is a quiet space could be useful. Obviously, you know, it depends on the size of the company and how much space they've got, but that would be the ideal situation, because in most companies I've worked for, there is a meeting room somewhere that is pretty empty, especially as people are working remotely. So I think just that's quite simple, isn't it? Just hey, you know, between 11 and 3, there's a you know, this is our quiet space, and go for it there. And if that meeting room is fully booked that day, then you know, you can go work from home if you don't think you're going to be productive. It's simple things.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think as well we have learnt that, you know, we have to sometimes pull through. And so me, I just wear noise cancelling headphones, and if I'm at a desk that faces away and faces the window or the wall or something, so that all the noise and distractions are behind me, I'm going to do a lot better. So it can be done that way as well.
Mhm. Uh, could the company ask the people which it recruits what is their preferences and help them to organize their work? For example, you tell about remote work. It's a great possibility to work with employees remotely. You need not invest in some organization in the office, or if you want to track these employees in the office, you could organize it. But ask what is important for you. Would it be something individual approach? What do you
Yeah, I
think?
think every company that you know, every good company will ask you what you need to do your job. And so I think it's just, if a lot of people are too scared to say that they're even neurodiverse. So if you have got over that hurdle and have made that applicant comfortable enough to say, hey, yes, I have autism, or yeah, hey, yes, I have ADHD, you then can then lead on and say, for your ADHD or for your autism, what do you need? You know, do you like to work in an office? Does this affect you? Would you like to come and see the office first, and then we can figure out where might be a good place for you to sit? Or is it hot desking? You know, I think just giving a lot of support and a lot of ideas and help are better than anything. You know, we can't always do everything that we can do. You know, if you're hot desking, you can't guarantee that office there, but you know, we can help with trying to do that. You know, we can help with trying to make it better. And if we can't, then there's always working from home. So I think as long as you are very upfront and very open and ask the right questions, you're going to get the right answers. And you might find it's just a pair of noise cancelling headphones. You know, it could be as simple as that.
Yeah, I agree absolutely with you. Hello, I have one question about any cases. I think what you are an ambassador of neurodiversity and promoting it to the companies. I'm sure what you know some very important cases. Could you
Yeah.
share these cases with us?
So share examples or
Yeah, examples of how company could implement it.
oh
Maybe any
yeah. No.
companies who is successfully implemented it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So I do a lot of research and some of the two coolest companies I've seen recently are I think EY and Microsoft. So EY actually have a neuro center in I think they have two now, but they definitely have one in Manchester. I live in Manchester in the UK, and they definitely have one there. And then Microsoft too. They are actively looking for anyone who's neurodiverse to come specifically work on their tech team, because their research has shown that actually people that are neurodiverse are great inventors, great out of the box thinkers, and they want to be one step ahead of the game with their competitors. And they've realized that these guys are amazing. So they're actively got programs in place, you know. So in that instance, you're getting a lot of neurodiverse people together. So it's quite easy to make sure that everything is to their liking, is going to make them the most productive and the most happy. And I think on the back of that, those two companies being such huge trailblazers, there are other companies that are really following close behind. I know that Sainsbury's in the UK are massive on this as well. So yeah, I think they've realized that it isn't just we're doing this to be more diverse. It's actually this is better for our business. So I mean, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people with ADHD work as sort of paramedics and in emergency services, and that's because when you get in a neurotypical person, when you get under a lot of stress, you know, if something happens, your brain starts to speed up so much that you can't decision make. Someone with ADHD, their brain's already going 500 miles an hour, and actually the adrenaline slows their brain down so they can start to just make really great decisions. And I noticed this when years ago, I used to work out with kids in the middle of Australian bush, and I'd see my very, very highly trained instructors melt when the word of a helicopter was coming in to get a kid. And I would just be like, dum, 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 dum. So I felt it, and it's the way that you react to stress. So, but yeah, I think there's a lot of companies doing the right thing, and I know that that is meaning that everyone else is following. And so I hope that in a few years' time we'll just see more and more. It will almost be like the companies that are not doing it are behind, if that makes sense.
May I ask you more about EY case? You say what they have a special center.
Yeah,
Do
I
you know a
met a
little bit
couple.
about how this center work? Is it the global, or is it a center for any particular
I think they've
country?
got, I don't know a lot because I just I've been to a few, you know, recruitment events and different events in the UK, and I often bump into the same people. And as far as I know, they opened it around, well, I'm guessing 2020, and it was just a training center. You can definitely Google it. It's open to Google, but instead of just doing, you know, just having the idea and maybe some promotion on their website, they decided to do almost a training center I imagine it's early talent. There's a lot of early talent that have gone in there, but honestly, I don't know much more about it. And I believe there's one in Atlanta in the US as well. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that it was a copy of that one. So they opened one in Atlanta and then they chose Manchester in the UK. But you can definitely Google it. And you know what? EY are great advocates. You could always reach out to someone in their team if you were intrigued. I'm sure they tell you about it. And I'm sure it's on their website if you take a look. They've got a great website.
What is your advice to the companies where they could know more about effects of employees with different neuro-specific neuro-specific item? For example, we discussed what I know that people sometimes with autism, they could be brilliant in routine. They could be brilliant in routine. They like this routine. And as a company, I asked about EY because maybe sometimes you have a lot of routine with figures, a lot of figures. You should pay more attention to the figures for finding mistakes or for this type of job. But people with any other diagnosis maybe could be better, as you said, you start to recognize an emergency situation where the employer could find the information about how to work with different type of personas and try to match them with a type of work in the company. Because I'm absolutely sure what you have in the company, you have a different type of work, especially about the companies. What is maybe some of your advice how to start to think out of the box for recruiters, for managers, and maybe I have some position with very high retention on this position because a lot of routines, and the people come to this position in normal situation they could only spend 3 months because maybe it's too boring for them. And maybe the people with autism would be the best employer because it will be the better work for him, her, and his position. What
I would say if I was in recruitment and I was looking to boost my knowledge on neurodiversity and knowledge on what parts of my business someone who's neurodiverse might be really, really good at and excel at, I just have to do my research. I only know what I know because I'm reading stuff all the time. There are a lot of things out there now, a lot of charities and a lot of organizations that are willing to give you advice, but there's also a lot of information. There's webinars. I mean, if you just search in LinkedIn, neurodiversity, and then choose tech, you're going to come up with a bunch of events and webinars there. People will tell you more and more information. So it's a bit more about being out there more because it isn't new, but it kind of is. So there isn't as many, official ways to go down. We just know what we know. And like look at some of the stuff that the companies that are doing it well, like Microsoft, like EY, are putting out there. Because if they're doing it well, they're talking about it generally. But and then the stereotype is always tech, people that are neurodiverse like tech. But actually, I work in sales because particularly and I think ADHD and autism do very much mold together. But I need to be kept on my toes. I need to be doing something different, fun. So I need that structure, but also like I enjoy the fact that my job is different all the time and I don't get bored. So people in sales generally you find that there's a lot of people in sales with ADHD. There's a lot of people like women that have progressed really high in companies with ADHD because they have this drive. Once they start on something, they got to finish it. But if it's boring, they can't get it done. So it's just about getting your research right and finding out who's doing it well. I mean, if you look at recruitment, recruiters go to so many events, honestly, live events, all across the world. People are going to recruitment events all the time, so, go and speak to people at these events, go and find out, have a one-to-one and unofficial conversation and find out what's going on. People will share things they're doing well. 100%. And there's a lot of talks as well. There's a guy called Theo who does a lot of talks. He's a good I can share you the link later, but I've forgotten his last name, but his name's Theo, and he's amazing, and he does a lot of talks. There's people out there that are just giving you this information. You've just got to sort of grab it and then put it together and find out where it fits in what you're looking to do, if that makes sense.
May I ask one more question about the young generation, the people, about the children? Because I know that the companies have a lot of graduate programs or the
the early
programs
talent
for the young generation. I know sometimes we start to work not only in the universities or the colleges, but also in the schools. If we talk about children with neurodiverse children, what do you think? Should company prepare maybe some special ideas for them? How to talk about your company? How to talk about any special profession? How to take into account your what you're a unique person for some particular profession that could be your strong side for them. What is your advice?
Absolutely. So a lot of companies I know now, instead of just going in for university level, actually going in for school level, which makes perfect sense because you start to make decisions about college in school, and then in the UK, you then go from college to university. So if you choose the wrong path there, it's going to delay you further forward. And if, like me, you had no idea what your strengths were, you're never going to make the right choice. And I know a lot of schools now do a great job of making sure that their neurodiverse young people have got all the support they need, and some are not. So I think you're right. I think companies that are looking or know that neurodiverse young people are really, are going to be great for their future employment should get in there early and inspire. Like if you're sat there as a kid and you've got a diagnosis with ADHD, you might not be feeling so great. You might be overwhelmed. You might feel like, oh, useless. I can't do anything. I don't fit in or whatever it is. And if, a company comes into your school and says, hey, we think you're amazing. Why don't you come work with us? What are they going to do? It's a great idea. And I think more, I don't know if any companies are doing it. I'd love to know actually. But they should. They 100% should, especially if they've got centers and programs in place. Like, yeah, I would be very surprised if they're not. But yeah, it would be massively inspiring for me if a big company said, actually, we're looking for you. It's not a bad thing. You're a superhero. I'd be like, yeah. So, yeah, 100%.
I think it could be a special stream for the graduate programs for the big corporation.
Yeah.
I think. Because I know what the company now try to attract a different type of talents. And
you need to inspire. Like I know that I know some companies were just taking in, like financial companies would go in and do talks with schools, and it would just be someone from their talent team, and the kids were not inspired. So then they started to get more inspiring people, keynote speakers, even actors, someone who can go in and just inspire, tell them how fun it is, keep them engaged for that whole conversation. And I think it's, and it did work. So I wouldn't be surprised if it would work in that way. In fact, you might have just come up with and if no one's doing it, like they should be, maybe we've just come up with a great idea.
I think make the very important thing to discuss this topic because I know I work in some markets, the topic of neurodiversity is not so common. Yes, in my university, I asked my students, do you know about neurodiversity? They said, no, what is it? Tell us about it. I think we have to talk about it because not all peoples. We start to talk about mental health only, I think, 3-4 years ago, especially after COVID, during the pandemic. I think neurodiversity is very important topic, and for the companies which now could look from the diversity perspective on this topic. And I want to ask
Yeah.
you my last questions. This is also part of a ritual to ask this question at the end. This is what is your what is the three important points you advise to pay attention if company decided to launch the program uh, based on neurodiversity? If you want to implement these ideas in their life, what is three important
Okay,
things?
so first, research outside and inside. Find out who's working for you, who is neurodiverse within, and do your research without outside as well. The second one is like part of that is find those people that work for your company already and ask them to be advocates. Ask them to be the person that others can go and talk to and ask questions and find out how well you're doing. So using advocates is such a good way of doing it. And if they're happy to, you can then use that on your, say, website, or they could even sit in an interview, having someone there that feels like me, looks like me, will understand me. This company is obviously a good place to work. So use your advocates, research advocates. And then I would say consistency as well, is it set up in advance, be consistent. Because there's no point saying we're going to do this, can do this, can do that, can do that. And then you get lots of people come in that are amazing and they're going to do a great job. And then you're kind of not consistent with making sure that they're, have the right setup at work, have the right support. You've introduced them to the people. You've just kind of like forgotten about it. You need to keep being consistent. It doesn't just stop once you employ a few neurodiverse people. You've got to keep going, So that's a bit of a weird three, but yeah. And I would just add listen to what's going on, listen to your people, find out. So it is, yeah. I think that sort of answers it.
Mhm.
Typical ADHD answer. I couldn't give you three, I had to give you four.
Uh, I thank you very much for this conversation. I think
No,
it's
you're
really
welcome.
important conversation for all the people. I want to give an advice to everybody who want to know more about neurodiversity. Please follow Lou Anderson on LinkedIn. I think you are open for any questions if the
Open for
people
any questions, yeah. Yeah.
if we will have a question about neurodiversity. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.
No worries. No, appreciate yours too. And yeah, ask me any questions and shoot me your website over if you want me to take a look at it as well. I'm always happy to see why you're leveling up in as far as a neuro person and looking at your site. So always happy. But yeah, no, appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was a podcast, Happy at Work. And thank you for all your times. I thank for all the people who are watching us right now or will watching us after this podcast on YouTube, on Facebook, or on LinkedIn. Thank you. Have a good day.